Harry Souttar received the same text message from his dad before he stepped out for every game at the World Cup. The same one before he faced France and Kylian Mbappé, the same one before he took on Argentina and Lionel Messi for a place in the quarterfinals. Aaron would want a win tonight, only a few words, but all Souttar needed. Souttar's brother, Aaron, died in July after a battle with motor neurone disease, aged 42, and only 4 months before Harry went to the World Cup with Australia. They'd always talked about him playing on the biggest stage, especially after Souttar chose to play for the Socceroos instead of his native Scotland like their other brother John. Their mum, Heather, was born in Western Australia. 6 feet 6 inches defender Harry Souttar has enjoyed a meteoric rise in the past few months. He impressed with Australia at last year's World Cup and marked Lionel Messi in the last 16. Souttar has a tattoo on his arm depicting his late brother Aaron, who died in July after a battle with motor neurone disease. Before one of the games at the World Cup, the Boss Australia coach, Graham Arnold, did a great speech about who you are doing it for, who is in the stands watching, or who is watching back home, who is the one person you are doing it for, says Souttar. It was pretty simple for me who I was doing it for. The 6 feet 6.5 inches Souttar taps his arm as he sits in an interview room inside Leicester City's training ground. It's covered by the blue shirt of his new club, but underneath lies the artwork that proves Aaron is never too far away. The tattoo down his forearm depicts keen golfer Aaron mid-swing at his favorite course St Andrews. Aaron was a decent golfer, captain of the local club where they grew up in Brecon. The detail makes it look more like a black and white photo than a tattoo. He'll always be with me, says Souttar. And he knows how proud his brother would be, too. How proud he still is. Not only for excelling at the World Cup, a key part of Australia reaching the knockout stages for only the second time in their history and viral sensation after a crunching tackle against Tunisia, but for the whirlwind that's followed, a £15 million deadline day move from Stoke to Leicester, 2 wins from 2 games in a team that had lost 4 in a row and drawn another since the restart, an own goal on debut before restricting Harry Kane to his quietest game against Leicester in many a year in their 4-1 victory last weekend. Souttar's dad had texted him before that match too, he'll be wanting a win on your home debut. It could hardly have gone better, own goal aside. Sometimes you can't do anything about that, he says. I got a few texts from friends and family taking the piss, but, apart from that nothing, no forfeit. Hardly surprising, when you see his imposing figure. One of the tallest players in the Premier League, Souttar stoops under the door frame before taking his seat at the table. It's a table at which he seems to belong. It's been a quick journey, but it was one I always saw myself going on, he says. I've always wanted to be a Premier League player, and 3 or 4 years ago I knew I was miles off it. I had to go out on loan numerous times, twice at Fleetwood and one to Ross County, even to get into the Stoke team. I always had belief that I could play at top level, but it's not until you actually play it that you maybe know it. I've only played 2 games, anyone can play well for 2 games, it's about doing over a consistent period of time. I am not getting carried away with myself, I know that you can get praise 1 minute and stick the next. The 24-year-old put in an impressive display in the Foxes' 4-1 win over Tottenham last weekend. Souttar joined Leicester in a transfer deadline day move from Stoke City for £15 million. He always had belief that he could play at the top level despite being sent on numerous loan spells. The defender went viral during the World Cup for a crunching challenge on Taha Yassin Kennedy. Souttar came through the academy at Dundee United before he joined Stoke in 2016 as an 18-year-old. He made his league debut for the Potters 4 years later. He's experienced a lot for a young man of just 24. And you can forgive him for savoring what's happened over the last few months. Souttar's opening game of the World Cup, which ended in a 4-1 defeat to France, was just his second after returning from a knee injury that kept him out for a year. He ruptured his ACL against Saudi Arabia in the World Cup qualifiers. It was nothing much. He went to block a shot, feinted and moved, then tried to move again and heard the pop. I knew straight away, he says. I hadn't had a big injury before and always wondered if people know when they do stuff. I just felt a pop and collapsed. The physios and doctors came on to see if it was stable, and my kneecap was going halfway down my shin and halfway up my thigh, so I knew something was bad. There were doubts he'd be fit in time for the World Cup. During the playoff matches, Souttar helped the Australia kitman hang up the team's shirts, just so he could feel close to the action. He leaned on his brother John, who has suffered multiple Achilles injuries, for advice. He's had a horrendous time with injuries, says Souttar. He's one of the strongest people I've met, mentally. My older brother passing during my injury made me and John a lot closer too. He's been a massive help to me throughout my career. He said to me right at the start, if you're ever feeling down, just write your thoughts down, no need to share it with anyone, but just write down what you're feeling and in a month's time have a look at it. At the start everyone says there's going to be down periods, but I thought, but everyone's different, I'll sail through it, I'll be fine. But there were challenging moments and he helped me a lot. Souttar thrived in Qatar. Despite losing their opening game, they went on to beat Tunisia and then everyone's dark horses Denmark to qualify for the knockout stages, where they lost to eventual winners Argentina, missing a late chance to take the game to extra time. It's the pinnacle of football to play at the World Cup. I was so grateful I got the chance to do it, and certainly as a team to get through. I don't think a lot of people on the outside expected much from us, but we always had that belief and culture within the side that we could do something and we could shock a lot of people. Souttar's 6 feet 6 inches frame makes him one of the tallest players in the Premier League, and he admits it's obviously quite noticeable. Tonight, we beat Denmark when my friends and family were in the stands. That's probably the best I've felt on a football pitch. It was weird because we knew if we drew or won we'd go through. But Tunisia were beating France and we obviously never expected that. One of the lads came over to say they were winning and we all told him to go off somewhere. But then we looked over at the bench and realized they actually were. The last 25 minutes dragged on forever. Obviously, it was disappointing to go out to the eventual champions, but even in that game we took it right to the wire. We had a chance with the last kick of the ball and it was just a great and proud moment. Souttar went viral, too, after his crunching tackle on Tunisia's Taha Yassin Kennedy late in the game secured Australia's first World Cup win in 12 years. It caused such excitement that a brief addition to his Wikipedia page was added. Against Tunisia, Souttar caused mass boners across the great southern land with one of the greatest sniping tackles God's earth has ever seen. Souttar smiles about that now. I don't want to sound like Roy Keane here, but it's a defender's job to stop the ball going in the net. Against Argentina, he also got the chance to play against the greatest player, he says, who has ever lived. Messi was unbelievable. The spaces that he picks up. There wasn't one moment, even when he was walking 20 yards offside, where you weren't checking over your shoulder to see where he was. You think you're okay and then you're not. You can't mark him because if you drop you're playing them all onside, but you know eventually he's going to come and you're having to check him and check the ball. The concentration level throughout the whole game was on a different level. I watched clips of him and planned, but sometimes he's unstoppable. Perfect preparation, then, for the challenge of Wout Weghorst on Sunday when Leicester head to Old Trafford to face Manchester United. I said the other day that side of it helped massively making my debut against Villa, playing those games at the World Cup on that stage. With the pressure of those games, it helped me prepare for it a little better and knowing what was to come. He's had to change his eating habits a bit too. When he completed the move he received a text from a friend, "No more chicken goujons for you." He also likes to put cheese and onions crisps on his sandwiches. He sang Dancing in the Moonlight by Toploader for his initiation song. His favorite films are The Lord of the Rings and still has figurines that he keeps at his mum's house. He will face a telling battle with Manchester United target man Wout Weghorst on Sunday. Souttar doesn't shy away from the elephant in the room either, the fact he stands at nearly 6 feet 7 inches. It's obviously quite noticeable. I think if you're tall and you play football people are going to say, oh he's good at heading, but I do like to play on the deck as well. But I've always loved defending and making tackles and blocks, and he's putting them to good use since his move to Leicester. He'd heard about their interest at the start of January but, as the days ticked by, wasn't sure it would materialize. When it did, it was just an opportunity I couldn't turn down. He's not looked back since. Not even at the notes he made during those darkest days. I wanted it to be in the past. It helped me through the months I was injured, but once I was back fit, I just wanted to look forward. Single quote.